into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Wow, there's a good memories of this song. Playing this pep band.
I think we got some crossover with somebody else in this video. But this is really epic music.
This is epic because we're going to kill it tonight.
That's right. So welcome to AFTERBUZZ TV with our breakdown of Kings and Prophets. And of course, I'm Chris Howard, your host. You can reach me at Chris Howard Live on Twitter. You can also write to us directly on the video if you're watching this, so you can comment along the way. We'd love to have you throw in your ideas. And as well, you can reach us. You can download the podcast on iTunes, so this stuff can be like IV dripped into your arm.
You won't miss a thing.
You won't miss a thing. You can also find me at legendarylivingdaily.com, where I have tips and motivation, and legendarylivingtv.com for my YouTube channel and our lovely co-host,
Katerina Cozias. Hey everyone, you can reach me at Katerina Cozias both on Twitter and on Instagram. You can also hit me up via my website, which is globalgab.com. That's global-gab.com. I bring you up to speed with international top trending headlines. So if you need a bit of a break from Kardashians or football, do hit me up, because I will be the first to tell you whether or not we are heading into World War III.
what do they call that? Armageddon? Or
That's right.
Biblically, what do you call that?
Biblically, it is called Armageddon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And speaking of biblical, we are here live in the Hollywood studios of AFTERBUZZ, getting ready for Of Kings and Prophets.
Of Kings and Prophets. Listen to this music. Isn't this fantastic?
Ooh.
This makes us feel
very epic.
like we're either in biblical times or in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. What was that? Conan the Barbarian is what this comes from.
All right.
All right, so tonight we're going to have some fun. We're doing episode 2 of Kings and Prophets,
yes.
And I absolutely love this episode. This was, we were saying just before we started.
So much better than episode 1. I loved this episode.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. You say better than episode 1.
Episode 1 I enjoyed.
I'm 100% with you. But this one seemed to be, it's almost like they were able to reap any feedback or get whatever. Because, I mean, look, David got a haircut. And it looked good. And I was caught up in the suspense. I let myself go. I suspended disbelief, and I was in it.
Right.
I thought it was really cool.
Yes, absolutely. I was pleasantly surprised. I enjoyed episode 1.
Yeah.
But in comparison to this one, I thought it fell a little flat. And the thing that concerns me, for those of you that viewed it, I'm sure you'll be agreeing with us.
Yeah.
For those of you that didn't tune in for episode 2, you missed out. And in fact, Chris, I was looking at the ratings this week.
And it went down?
They went down again.
Yeah, we got to do something about this.
We got to make sure that people know about this show, because it's turning out to be a good one.
Yeah, this episode was really, really good. It was just as good as any other mythic drama that I've seen on television. So it was great. A lot of adventure and romance and everything coming out there. But how much does all of the politics that were occurring, how much does that remind you of today?
Well, the betrayal is one thing. That betrayal was running through this episode like no one's business. And you know, with the political election coming up and people trying to figure out who's going to support who, it's timely.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, you get the king and you got the concubine and you know, you got the Monica Lewinsky's of the world, and then you got the riots that were happening in the square in this episode. We see that today at the Trump rallies.
Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So a lot of correlations. I mean, but I guess that's what the Bible's all about. The biblical, or that's what life is all about, right? If they say if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
And again, I think it's, you know, this is one of the stories in the Bible that is one of the biggest stories. It's David and Goliath. It's Saul and the prophet Samuel, and Samuel himself wrote 2 of the books in the Old Testament. So this is great that they've decided to bring this to the screen. I love it.
Yes, we both love it. And look at you with your biblical knowledge now. Look
yes.
at you. I mean, she's been brushing up. So.
I did brush up.
Now, we're missing McCall tonight, so if you notice that there's only two of us.
There's only two of us. But for you at home, I have Twitter feed going here, so if you want to gab with us, please hit us up at hashtag of Kings and Prophets. We'd love to gab with you via the net.
Whoa, look at that. So we're in biblical times, but we've got modern day technology to facilitate the conversation, right? So Samuel had his connection with God, and he could go into a trance and talk to the man or the woman. And we have Twitter.
Absolutely. And we're going to run through this episode, Chris. We'll kind of take it piece by piece and dissect it a little bit for everyone.
Are you ready to go?
Absolutely.
So it opens up. We've got quite a bit happening here. We've got where's a good place for us to start? David. Let's talk about David and what was happening with him throughout the episode. You know, so David's journey here. He's getting some confidence. I mean, he looks good. He's hitting on a princess.
Right.
What did you think? How did he progress? What his progression from the last episode?
We've seen David in just one episode go from the shepherd,
right,
who showed a little bit of promise by being true to his value system and wanting to go slay the lion, which he did successfully. A little prophetic there,
yes,
about what's to come down for David. But we did see him now weasel his way into the court.
Weasel his way into the court.
And although he isn't yet king, he is in there as a harpist and has the ear of the king.
And he does seem to be acting very kingly, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah. So not only does he have the faith of the people that's building up, you can see that happening with the fame that he's gaining from the fact that he had killed the lion. But in addition to that, you just see all the politics at work.
Right.
With Saul losing Samuel's approval, and with David beginning to gain this notoriety, you get the political battle that starts to happen.
Right, and we see that with them when the show kicks off. We see Saul at his council meeting, if you will,
right,
trying to rally his troops that, hey, we're going to go into war and we're going to win this war, although he's doing it now with a diminished reputation. You see, he's lost a lot of that support. Yeah. And so he's in there trying to rally the troops.
And reputation is everything in terms of rallying the troops, especially you got to have the prophet behind you. Right. Even Saul's own sons are fighting about that in the beginning. And what he's looking to do is unite the tribes of Israel. So now we know a little bit. We studied a little bit so we could deliver even better for you. But so he's looking to unite the tribes of Israel, and he was the first uniter of the tribes of Israel. David's going to be in there pretty quickly as well, and we see all the intrigue playing out, and it's very Machiavellian. It's very, what are you doing behind this person's back, and I'll pay you to assassinate this person.
Right.
And I mean, it's like a modern day House of Cards, right?
Which is why I loved it. It was great. It was intriguing. This episode kept my attention, every piece of it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, and
there was a lot of realism to it. A lot of I liked the relationships with the characters and how they were playing out. Fascinating.
We see it shift from being in the square where Saul is trying to rally his troops over to Solomon, where he's in that trance. Samuel. Samuel's in the trance, and Samuel is getting now this messaging from God.
And you see the visions of David.
And he is ready to anoint a new king.
Yeah. Now that's the scary part for, of course, the sons of Saul. That's the scary part for Saul. They're feeling the burden of this upcoming, anointment of a potential new king, and according to the sons, the old king always has to die, and that's really playing out in this episode. The whole episode is about the betrayal.
Absolutely, and we see the son. We see his son Ishbaal.
Yeah.
Hire an assassin.
You know what? You deserve a high five.
Well, I had to write that down. I had to write it down.
Yeah,
the names are tricky, folks. The names are tricky.
Well, the spelling on that one will get you. ISBOS or ISBOSHET.
I'm audio. I work phonetically.
Okay. Yes. All right.
But he goes out. He hires an assassin with the intent to kill the prophet.
Right.
This is big.
Yeah. They did that on Silk Road. They took that guy down recently for looking to assassinate 6 people in the dark web and the deep web. But back in those days, they were doing the same thing.
Right, right.
So offering him some money to go out and kill Samuel. And that didn't go down as well as planned, huh?
No.
No. Samuel had God on his side, and Samuel felt him coming, knew that the assassin was coming, and took him out.
Right, which I found a little bit interesting because Samuel has to be 95 years old.
Yeah.
But he has the power of God behind him, right?
Yeah, and that's what he said. He's like, God hears everything, or God feels everything. And you know what's fascinating to me is, once again, all the violence and all the wrapped up with the concept of God.
Yes.
That fascinates me. It's like, you know, we see that in modern day. We see that with, you know, when we're looking at problems that are occurring in the Middle East and the conflicts that happen, and everything's fueled with God. And, you know, we look back at the Christian religion, we go, boy, they were out there killing people too, just like any other religion in the name of God.
And you know what you see is the importance of alliances and how quickly alliances can change.
Politically speaking.
Right.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, and that really played out. And yeah, I agree with you. So, because he's, you know, uniting the tribes of Israel, that's a big deal.
Right.
We saw that Etienne was the king of Judah.
Right.
Right. And it was his son, was it Metiau?
Netanyahu.
Netanyahu.
Who was killed in the last episode.
Last episode. Saul had sent him to attempt to get a hold of some of the iron of the Philistine tribes, and they caught him and they killed him. So Metiahu Etienne, he's holding on to that resentment. He's
the dad.
Pissed,
right?
Right.
Yeah, he's upset.
Yeah, I had to find a way to say it
Right.
easily. He's burying the. Yeah, he's pissed. So he's pissed off, and he's one of the first people to say, "Hey, why should we follow you?"
Right, and in my opinion, he has a point.
Right.
His son was sacrificed in the name of this, and it backfired on Saul. It backfired on Etienne, and so he's reluctant to move forward.
Yes.
Although he proved his loyalty by doing so. The person that came in as disloyal was the second gentleman they featured, who was the dad of the young son, who had the Philistine silver.
The silver. They found the silver. David finds the silver and presents it to the king.
You know, was going to betray Saul
Right.
with moving his 6,000 troops to the other camp.
And you can imagine how that is. You're out there to fight a battle, and 6,000 of your own people turn
on
against
you in the middle of a battle. It would have been really bad.
Right. I think your point to the fact that the whole thing about alliances. I mean, if you go back and you look at, you know, Sun Tzu talks in The Art of War about going out and taking out the alliances of the other party, or going and forging those alliances. That's everything, because power is going to lie with the, you know, with the numbers. It's fascinating to me also how this weaves in, you know, just historically. I was looking at later on, I was reading some reviews on this, but then they're like on Wikipedia, I was finding some stuff, and they were talking about, you know, how they interact at some point with the Persian armies and King Xerxes, which was in the times of Alexander,
and the Egyptians,
300, the movie 300 that came out, So it all interweaves together,
And again, going back to the importance of alliances, you see the mom. Right, the queen coming in,
working it.
She's working it in many different ways in this episode. But the first way she worked it is to try to forge a new alliance when she was trying to set up her son with Etienne's daughter now. Correct. So we're sorry that your son died. He didn't marry our princess. However, we have our eldest son who is still unmarried. He might be able to marry your daughter.
Oh, she didn't even say that. She said, "Yeah, you can have him."
Right, you can have him. Her goal is to keep this alliance together by whatever means she can.
It's fascinating the role that she plays throughout this whole thing. I mean, she appears to be the backbone of Saul. Would you agree? Or do you think...
well, you know, the women have proven to be the backbone of many strong men, and good for her. She is working what she can. And I think actually this actress was very well cast, in my opinion. I enjoy her as the mom.
She's doing a really good
nice job.
Yeah. And then what do you think about this whole thing with he wants the concubine in his bed more than the wife? I mean, don't we see this stuff all the time? This is like modern day drama.
Well, and back in biblical times, this is not unusual.
Right. Not much has changed, in other words. Yeah. So she's the one who's doing it, and the guy's got a young concubine.
He's using the wife for her maturity and her strategic...
Her emotional strength.
Right, and her strategic abilities. Yeah. And is using the concubine for her 20-year-old body, right?
There you go.
And again, as you said...
And what did I say?
That this continues to happen in 2016.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like, geez, what's changed? Oh my God, we've gotten no lessons.
Although you wonder how, again, ABC is in a bit of a pickle right now because they're trying to appeal to the big epic Game of Thrones viewer audience. Mm-hmm. And they're also trying to appeal to the Bible followers. Right. And I believe that they probably lost a bit of the faith believers.
You reckon?
With episode 1. Yes, I do. Because
why do you say that?
I found episode 1 very graphic, both in terms of the violence and in terms of the sexual content. Mm-hmm. And I think they should have left that for later episodes.
Interesting, yeah.
If they were wanting to go after the Bible crowd. Yeah. It was a little bit aggressive.
You have to ease them, and you need more foreplay for the biblical people.
Right. Less aggressive foreplay.
Just foreplay.
Right, but you see what I'm saying. And it's funny because they toned both of those down a little bit in episode 2, which again I found interesting. Yeah.
Well, they hung people at the end.
Right. Women and children and everyone.
Yeah, there definitely was, and the reality is there was violence. That's the Bible is a very violent book. I don't mean to knock it, but it's a violent book with good learnings and good lessons.
So it didn't bother you?
You know what? I just liked this episode so much better than the first episode. To what we said before. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the first episode was kind of shocking when the girl goes down on her knees, and when it was like,
It was a lot. It was a lot for Tuesday night first episode Bible themed show.
Yeah.
Although that's where I take it back and say this isn't Bible. This is Hollywood at its best.
Right. So in tonight's episode, or last night's episode, is I was watching it. I went in and said, you know what? I'm going to go into this and just play, and it was really fun. The story was good. Yeah. The suspense was mounting. The whole thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to the next episode, too.
I am looking forward to the next episode as well, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, now, I looked up a couple of things since the last episode.
Are you going to educate us?
Yes, I am. Okay. The Amalekites. So, I just made some notes here. I wrote, had a history of warring against the Israelites and attacking them when they were tired or lagging, so they'd go out and they would attack the women and children. It's so, once again, I go back to, it's so hard to make a bad guy and a good guy in these types of things from my perspective. People are people, right? But at the time, people are warring and people are,
And perspective is perspective.
Yeah.
Could be good for someone, could be bad for someone else, right?
Yeah, is it getting married, good event or bad event? And getting divorced, good event or bad event, right? Is all based on...
Absolutely, your perspective.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So the Amalekites... what ended up happening as a result I think it was McCall that said this last week, where she said he didn't follow God's will, he didn't kill the king of the Amalekites, and in researching it more, the Amalekites continued to harass and plunder the Israelites for hundreds of years afterward because they hadn't stamped them out of existence like Samuel.
So there weren't just repercussions for the house of Saul. There was repercussions for the Israelites.
You could say humanity. I mean, because once again it becomes
because of his lack of faith. Is this speaking to faith?
It's so hard for me to equate the killing of people with faith. I have a really hard time with that. Yeah. But. I mean, a lot of people would say yes, they didn't follow the word of God, and I also have a hard time with anybody being the voice of God incarnate.
Yes, I have an issue with the prophet telling me what God is thinking. I don't know. I'm not sold on that.
He looks like he's on acid or something. He's like
well, he's very strong.
Yes, he's
very strong.
PCP,
kill his assassin.
PCP. Yeah,
right.
That's a different drug.
Right.
No, I don't think they had that stuff back then. The bath salts. They make people really strong.
They were smelling some things back then. man.
Sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody. That actually, I'm sorry. These are not the opinions of AfterBuzz TV. Yes, these are. In any case,
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Disclaimer.
But you know what is fascinating is that there is, the ramification of not doing the one act that the prophets, as the voice of God, supposedly, says to do. If you do that, you'll be in God's favor. And what happens is they pay the price for generations and generations and generations for not having, one couldn't assume that it's because they didn't complete this one act.
Now, what do you feel of the relationship that's building between Saul and David?
So
Because this is going to be, Saul is starting to take David into his confidence.
Right.
And David is already having a bit of an issue because Saul killed the child, and he's doing some things that David isn't agreeing with.
Right. Toward the end of that episode. Yeah,
but I wonder if David will have a problem now that he's been anointed king with coming in and taking Saul's seat.
Yeah, well, David was a supporter of Saul. He cries out, he says, Saul's a good man, he's a good king, he's our king.
Right.
And then the riot starts,
correct.
right?
Yeah, you see him being a big supporter and very loyal, David, during the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, and then for me, that relationship as king, I can tell you as king, as king, that's a very tough position because Robert Greene wrote a book called The 48 Laws of Power.
Okay.
And it was a book that was kind of a breakdown of all these laws and rules that were, and it's based on Machiavelli's stuff. And whenever you're the king, you got everybody's gunning for you. They want to poison you. They want to stick you in the back. They want, you got all the betrayal that happens.
The trials and tribulations of a power position.
Yeah,
yes.
Anybody in a place of power. We see that in every powerful position that people have today. And there's people that love you, people that hate you.
Yeah.
But back then they were stabbing. And you know what? They're doing it today too. They'll take people out. They'll take their enemies out just in slyer ways or different ways, and disparage people.
I don't know that you can eradicate that out of human essence.
Out of the human, it's that quest for power.
Correct.
That desire to be to have power over other people, and but to be in that position of power, you gotta watch your back.
Well, and you have to make tough choices, and we saw Saul do this. I'm sure he didn't want to kill the 9-year-old boy, but he learned his lesson from last week.
So we think, yeah.
So we think, and so he wiped out that family. And to his point was, if we don't kill the boy will grow up to be a man and come after us. And so that was a tough choice, I'm sure, for Saul. David didn't agree with it. David packs up his bags and skips town.
Right. And that's the interesting thing as well, is that when Isbal, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Isbal, when he goes and to David and he threatens him, he says, "If I hear you talking about me, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill your dogs, your cats, every animal that you own." And what do you think about that?
Well, little does he know that this is going to be his king now.
Yeah.
Obviously, when he was doing that, I was thinking, oh no, no. But again, David,
that's a pretty big threat, though.
But again, David's gaining some points with me. Gentlemen, we like men with ethics and morals and integrity.
And a great haircut. Yeah.
David, and a better wig this week.
It looks good.
But David did step it up, and David did say that, I will keep this secret. It's not my secret to tell.
Right.
And although he did move in to defend the princess.
That was a great scene. What did you think about that?
It was very fairy tale. Very fairy tale. She was doing a good job on her own, but then he came in and
you
protected her.
I'll give you a fight.
That.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That was nice.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
That was very cool. And then she talks the brother down, and the brother goes away. That's very, very, very cool. So. Let's see. What else did we have here that was really interesting in this episode? We had, let's see. So we had the concubine and the Philistine. Now, the head of the Philistine, that's Achish, I believe is his name.
Right.
Achish. So he's got the concubine as a spy for him, working in the house of Saul.
Right. And she is very angry with Saul as
There's
well.
something
The
up with that.
concubine is not a happy girl. So
What do you? I don't remember them saying what that was all about.
we didn't see what that was, and I questioned that as well. So if anyone out there has any theories, again,
Let
tweet
us
us, hit
know.
us up, let us know what you're thinking, where her anger stems from.
Yeah, let us
Short
know
of-
that, because
short of
we got
just-
some great feedback, by the way. A shout out to our fans. Yes.
Our viewers.
Yeah, our
Yes.
viewers. Anyway, my head got big for a
He's in
second.
Hollywood,
yeah, who
folks.
knows? Yeah,
Chris is in
shout out
Hollywood.
to our viewers. But we got some great feedback, and I appreciate that. We got
Thank you.
the thing on. I got a personality characterization of Samuel. I
Yes.
got information about the Amalekites. So really appreciate your feedback and your interaction. So interact, and
Right.
we'll be responding to you and connecting as well. So this concubine has something up with King Saul.
Yes.
And it could be just the fact that she's sleeping with him and doesn't want to be sleeping with him, and she thinks he's a disgusting old guy. And
Right.
Right.
But she seemed very angry to say I want to be there
I wanna
when
be there
they
and see
take
his
him down.
face.
Okay, whoa.
so he can know it was me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But again, Saul is getting it from various angles.
Right.
The dissension.
And what did you think about the scene when his wife walks, or he's there with his wife, feeling passionate because she just got the 10,000 soldiers from Judah.
She made the
the
alliance, the
deal.
marriage alliance, to save the troops, to bring the troops over.
Passionately embraces her, tells her how beautiful
Thank
she
you,
is.
you're amazing. And then he
And
says,
the concubine sitting on the side, taking her robe off and wearing practically nothing. What did you feel when you saw that?
I'm a traditionalist. I like
Yeah.
people to respect who they're with.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me in his case. He's a king,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
powerful men do what they will.
See, I was looking at what she was doing.
Well, she turned around and slept with David, is what she did.
The concubine?
No, the wife.
Well,
She had her minute.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little bit
Yeah,
because that's
yeah, that's a whole nother subject.
how the
That's,
show sort of trickles around. Backing this up for just a moment.
Yeah.
What did you think of the budding love story between
David
David,
and Michal?
and Melva?
Is that Melba?
Michal, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I like it. I mean, now that he got his hair cut, I couldn't approve before.
What do you
Couldn't
think? What do you
condone
think
it
of
before.
Donald Trump's hair?
Yeah, they're good. Yeah, I don't want to say anything about that. But you look at that, and where was someplace we saw another bad wig someplace recently that was that really stood out in my mind. I forget where
sure.
it was,
Okay.
but it just kind of pulls you out of the. It was on Arrow, the television show Arrow.
Okay.
They had the bad wig that
Okay.
David
And it was
that
distracting.
Stephen Amell wore.
Okay.
It gets distracting. It breaks the fantasy for me. It breaks the experience.
Okay.
But he got his hair cut. Now I can condone it. So they have this budding romance that's happening between him and Michal.
Right.
And you can see the attraction. She's the one who steps up and touches his hand first, and she's letting him know that she's into him, which is pretty cool. I like it. What do you think? I see you
Yes.
typing. Sorry.
Sorry,
That's like asking somebody a question when they have food in their mouth.
I was going to say, repeat, please.
That's horrible. I just said, "What do you think?" But I should have
missed the
known
question.
that
I
would
missed
get
I missed
nothing.
the topic.
No, it's totally
Yes.
all right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just
Sorry, Chris.
playing with you.
No, we just
Somebody
had.
say something?
We did. We had a tweet. We had.
What's it say?
A shout out to Gina Toon. Hi, Gina.
Gina!
Thanks for following tonight. She's saying we're doing a great job and we're being very accurate in our. Feedback and commentary. So thank
Wow.
you for agreeing with us because we agree with us.
Okay, we agree
Right?
with us.
We agree with
we
us,
think we
so
do.
that's
Sometimes
right.
we're at conflict within, and that's a problem. But thank you, Gina.
Yes.
We appreciate that.
Right.
And but let's see. So where were we? We were talking that this whole episode's called "Let the Wicked Be Ashamed."
Yes.
Where do you think that title comes from?
Let the wicked be
Who's the
ashamed.
wicked here?
I think the wicked for me are the betrayers. The betrayers and the betrayal that is happening.
So we
falls
got
into
the
that.
concubine.
We've got the concubine. We have Hanuk, who is the dad at the end with the Philistine silver.
Okay, yeah, that took the Philistine silver.
Right.
So he took and they were paying him to turn on Saul's armies.
Right.
Yeah.
You can call Ishbaal a betrayer
Ishbaal.
of the prophet.
Because he's going out
'Cause
to
he's
kill
trying to
Samuel.
get
He's hiring
Samuel, right.
an assassin to kill Samuel. Yeah.
You can call the mom a betrayer of her marriage with the husband.
She
You can
goes
call the
on.
king a betrayer of his marriage with the wife.
Right.
There's
So he wants to be with the concubine more.
Right.
The concubine's betraying the king. being,
Right.
everybody's betraying everybody.
Now, I don't know what to expect in the next episode, but the again, back to this budding love story between Michal and David.
Right.
The affair when the queen seduced David, this was overseen by Merva, by the daughter. So the second daughter, the daughter who is grieving, sees this. So I'm
Where's
really
that gonna
worried.
go?
Yes, I'm worried that David picks it up again with Michal when he gets back, and guess what? This bomb is going to get dropped. That's going to be unfortunate.
That's really unfortunate.
I'm prophesizing that.
And you're prophesizing. See, it's of kings and prophets, and we got our own prophet right
There we
here.
go.
Yeah. I think there's. What did you think about all that the scene with the mother and with David? And
What would you have done if you were David?
that was really
So
tough.
I'm just going to back this up for the viewers that
Yeah.
may not have watched the episode.
Thank
what we
you.
see is David has this little
He gets called.
flirt. He's got a flirt going on with the daughter,
Well,
whom he
yes.
likes. The daughter says to him, kind of sly at the end, "I'm going to invite you back to my room later," because she was happy with him, the whole thing. He gets called by a servant down to these quarters,
And says
assuming
it says the palace wants
the
you, or the
palace
castle
wants to see
or,
you.
yeah, the
So
king.
he goes along, assuming he's going to meet Michal, the daughter, and out pops the queen. And the
Isn't
queen
that always the
seduces
case,
David.
that's-
And David, in his defense, again, because I like David,
Yes.
David tries to get out of it, and she threatens him. She says to him, he says, "I will get killed for this. I could get killed for this." And she says to him, "You could get killed for disobeying your queen."
Yes.
And so he goes on to, sleep with the queen.
Man.
Michal comes along and says to him afterwards, "I was looking for you." I mean, what's he going to say? "Well, I was sleeping with your mother."
Right. Yeah.
But what would you have done in that case?
I mean, it's hard to. I mean, when those days, they were. That's not an empty threat.
Right. This is true.
I don't think he thought it was an empty threat because honestly, I can't see him blowing what he has going with Michal.
With Michal, me neither. I think
for
he
the
was.
mother,
I think he was distraught by that decision. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it was he was threatened, and it wasn't an empty threat. He knew it wasn't an empty threat. He really had no choice because that's a stupid move. Although I made lots of stupid moves. Not, I mean, I mean, we've all made stupid moves, but that's a stupid one. So that's just unfortunate, is what I think, because Michal, she's beautiful. She's everything that David could probably want at the time.
At the time, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So we got a lot of betrayal. We got a lot of, let's see, we had the fight with Michal where she stayed off her brother. We've got David summoned to the palace. Oh, Goliath. We had Goliath show up. He asks at one point, Akish, he says, "Are you worried that they're uniting the tribes of Israel?" And he said, "No, we don't care about that at all. We got this handled."
Well, and you see them actually at the beginning as well. So
when Saul goes into
the show starts off with Saul and his council, and then we see Saul going out and reaching out to them, to the other side and saying to them, "We would like to come to a truce."
Right.
And they said, "No way. We will come and we will attack you. So be prepared."
And he said, "We'll be waiting." And so, you got a big conflict here. They had killed Mattiau, so they're going to come, and the fight's going to happen, and they're approaching. Problem is, the Israelites don't have the iron that they need, that the Philistines have, so they don't have the same weapons.
Right.
And they've got dissension amongst the troops, and that's and betrayal every place. How could you live with that type of betrayal and that type of the total inability to trust anywhere? How does somebody live with that?
Yes, that's got to be absolutely a very difficult position to find yourself in. And again, I don't doubt that some of our world leaders now have.
They live like that.
They do.
For sure.
They do.
I mean, and you look at them coming out of office, and they're gray-haired and beaten down, and they look like they've just been through
they're
hell
through the
and
ringer and back, and it's been a 4-year term, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we don't hear about a fraction of what happens when somebody's out there. And even when you look at modern day political parties, and you look at, we're in an election year right now, you see all of these themes playing out. What do you make of that when you've got modern day politics being a reflection of what was happening back there?
Again, I take this back to human psyche.
Yeah.
You know, there are certain threads that run through every generation, that will continue to run through every generation, and it's a matter of being able to navigate that. And I think to be a person in power, to be someone that has the responsibility of making decisions that can affect hundreds of thousands of people, you have to be of the character to manage that. It's self-management.
Well, I mean, and, you know, they strive to have it. You know, a presidential candidate will strive to have the power. Saul wanted the power. I'm sure David to be king would be an incredible thing.
Right.
But then when you get there, the world, your world turns upside down. There's a lot of other shit that comes with it that maybe you weren't expecting. And it becomes your environment. I know, because I've worked in positions where I built a big company. So I know what that, I've experienced some of this. So I'm kind of living vicariously right now through these people. But
what advice would you give to somebody in that position?
Oh shit, don't ask me. I'm like,
I'm intrigued now.
I mean, it's really, really tough because truly you can't know who to trust when you've got spies and espionage and you've got people that
have their own agenda.
Yeah, today we have honeypots. We have women that'll go in. I mean, we hear about that in espionage worldwide.
Sure, of course.
That all of this stuff is still happening, and for power over other people or whatever. You know, it's just to me it's a bit ridiculous, but unfortunately it's there.
Now, you know, I do feel a little bit sorry for Saul, because Saul was attempting in all good faith
He's trying to be a good man.
to bring these tribes together, to do something good. And out of the blue, he gets this decree from the prophet that you must go ahead and kill these people. And he balked on that. And now it's coming back to him. So it's a really tough position to be in, you know.
Yeah.
And again, I think they're showing this quite well. Did you know the budget for each episode? I did.
This is good.
The budget, rough budget for each episode they filmed was about $6 million.
Wow,
but you can see it. You can see it in the set design. You can see it in the wardrobe. That's a lot of money, though. So they really were trying to make this as historically accurate as they could.
And so you said the viewership was right around what?
You know, it started last week with 3.3 million.
Yes.
Which was the lowest debuting show of the year. Unfortunately, and people are very surprised.
Debuting show for what?
For ABC.
For ABC.
Now that went down to 2.4 million episode 2, so it lost almost 1 million viewers. It lost a third of its viewership because of episode 1, and that's why I say it's disappointing.
But remember, you got like we were talking the other day about like a show like Cocktails with Chloe that started with 1 million and dropped down to 200,000.
Right. Okay.
So you know, if you compare this with some other shows, it's not that it's an epic failure or anything.
No.
I think it still has. I mean, that's a pretty serious viewership.
And again, I would really ask people out there to share the show, because it's getting good. It was impressive. I really enjoyed episode 2.
Okay, so this is going to be our appeal to the AfterBuzz audience.
We need to keep this show on ABC. It's a great one. ABC, good job.
Well, I mean, it's what is? How many episodes is it? 10? Or,
well, it was originally scheduled to be 15.
Okay.
And they've got it down to 10 now. Yeah.
Yeah. I see. I love these types of tales that teach and stuff. So please do. Okay.
Absolutely.
So this is our appeal to you. If everybody passes it on to 10 people to watch this thing, we'll get the viewership up.
And there's message in this. There's some content. There's some value to this show, to this programming, and I for one enjoy that.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it as well. I love the learnings. I love I love holy texts and these types of things. I don't know. What do you think about, for me, this whole streak of violence in God? What do you think about that? How God, where does God interact with man's, turmoils and?
I don't believe that God intends for anyone to be affected by violence. I don't think that is his intention. I don't believe that God comes down and tells one set of people, you are the people, but you are not.
Yeah.
So I do have a bit of an issue with that, especially in the Old Testament.
The chosen people, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I really have an issue with somebody like the prophet anointing people and saying that you are a king, and no, wait, I changed my mind, now you are king.
Right. Well, that's kind of like in Iran right now, where they've got the Ayatollah, and they've got the president, right? So there's a separation there that's an apparent separation, but the prophet's in charge, right?
Right.
So you don't go out of.
My God is a loving God. He is a God that wants to see people be well.
Yeah.
He's not a God that's going to tell me to go kill people, but At least he hasn't yet.
Right. Tonight when you go home.
I don't know what I'm going to see tonight when I go home.
But on the flip side of the coin,
Yeah.
you know, if we were to make an argument for the other side, if there's hundreds of thousands of people that might die, or hundreds of people that die if you don't follow through on that one act, you know, is there an argument to be made that there's a time and a place for everything?
Well, I mean, that was the argument with Hiroshima, right?
Yeah.
Do we drop the atom bomb on these people to stop
So
the
it's
war?
done.
And you know,
Yeah.
I mean, these are questions that keep recurring in history, and the history books will write themselves according to who won that conflict.
Yeah. Boy, you're switched on that.
Yeah. I'm global gabbing.
Global gabbing, that's you. So, you know, what it reminds me of is when I did studies of Alexander the Great, I took a group on a tour of Turkey. And we went through the whole...
Beautiful.
We walked in the footsteps.
Oh, wow.
Brought a historian with us. And there's so much history in that. I ran naked around the tomb of Achilles in Troy.
Wow, that's
as you
fantastic.
Do. You got to do that.
You got to do it. No, that's really impressive. Why I didn't know that. Chris.
Why
Great.
do it? Well, because
no, I mean it's part of the experience.
Alexander really looked up to Achilles.
Right. Yeah.
He was a hero, and so he and his
the Battle
cousin
of Troy.
Yeah,
yes,
ran
absolutely.
naked around the tomb when they found it. So I had to do the same thing.
Okay, fantastic.
Thought I'd get arrested, but anyway, the reason I bring that up is because when Alexander would go into these various cities, he would always build a palace for the gods. So it was honoring the gods so that he could have the favor of the gods in taking over, and he would be viewed as a savior rather than viewed as a conqueror.
And Alexander was very inclusive. He wasn't out there to destroy. He was inclusive, and he built an empire based
depending on whose version of history you read, right?
I suppose.
Yeah.
I'm a descendant of Alexander the
Oh, are
Great.
you really?
Yes, well, I'm Greek.
Oh.
So, of course.
Yes. Okay.
So I'm a fan.
I'm a fan too. I really love going over there. But this whole thing of having favor with the gods, or having favor with the prophet, or having
favor with your electorate, right? I mean, it
the stamp of approval.
If you're a rock star, you want favor of your fans. I mean, it again, back to human nature. We need and want and crave support.
Yeah, and prestige. That prestige can win the support of the people, and if the prestige is knocked, whether it's prestige that comes from the stamp of God or prestige that comes from the approval of the tribes that are uniting together, when that prestige is knocked, we can lose a lot.
Right.
You know, we could look at that as a brand today. If a brand can be built,
and you see how careful people are of their brands. I mean, we saw it with with Nike now.
Yeah.
And Sharapova, right? And
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry, with the tennis star, Maria Sharapova.
Oh, did she have a problem?
Yes, she had failed a drug test recently, and Nike's threatening to cut her off, and et cetera, et cetera. So again, because they are protecting their brand image.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And so when things like this happen, it can destroy everything, right? So the gods of Nike,
right, are saying we need
the prophet. We need the prophet.
We need to hang her.
Yeah.
Right.
So overall, what was your feeling about this?
What was my takeaway?
Yeah.
I found this episode to move quickly. I think like things that move fast. I like things that are smart, that keep me engaged and intrigued, and this did all of that.
Yes.
It had really elements of foreshadowing what is to come, which is going to keep me here and ready for episode 3. Overall, I thought it was fantastic. And again, please share this with people out there, because we really want to see these numbers up. I like this show.
We're gonna champion the show as we go through this, because we do love the show. And for me, my overall, I really now am looking forward to this show. It's hard to say before they roll the show out that you're gonna fall in love with the show.
Right.
That it's a new show.
Right.
First episode, okay. Second episode, I can't wait for the third now.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's okay.
Right.
So why don't you share with everybody how they can reach you, how they can get a hold of you?
Absolutely. Again, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm Katerina Cozias. You can catch me both on Twitter and Instagram at Katerina Cozias. And we'll be here again next week. Yeah, Chris?
We will. And you can reach me once again at Chris Howard Live on Twitter and Instagram, as well as legendarylivingdaily.com for tips, motivation, that type of stuff, and legendarylivingtv.com for YouTube. And remember to follow us on iTunes. Get the podcast, man. Get it straight drip fed into the
listen
IV.
to us on your drive to work.
Yes, do that. Hey, I also got to do a quick shout out for Kevin Undergaro. He just got a new show that he just launched. It's called
Tomorrowland.
Tomorrowland, yes. And you want to? He's the fiance of Maria Menounos. This is their station, so tune into Tomorrowland.
Absolutely.
Big thing, big. You want to be there?
And shout out to our co-host McCall, who's missing today. We missed you, McCall. We'll see you next week.
We miss you. And with that, over and out. Much love. We'll see you next week, same time, same place.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz. See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.